Yeah, thank you so much for granting us your time and the opportunity to speak to us on Team Talk. Firstly, we just want you to let us in on the organization you work with, the National Football Supporters Association. What is it all about?
Um, Thank you, Lethabo, for having me. The National Football Supporters Association, the original organization was founded in 1992, right? And then in 2008, there was actually an amalgamation of three supporters organizations, which was I think the South African Football Supporters Association, two of them, which was Gauteng and Free State, and National African Football Supporters Association, to form one NAFSA, because the supporters were actually scattered all over the show in between the different organizations. And you find that you are then being counterproductive as opposed to having one organization that could actually represent the needs of the football supporter in the country and also put forward conversations that are impacting on the football supporter, and also to unite and bring football supporters together, So that's basically how the organization was formed and amalgamated, which is then now rebranded and called National Football Supporters Association. And most people ask, what is that? And I say, in simple terms, it's almost like a union for football supporters, basically. Even though they are not really employees, but it's rather to be the mediator and also to have the conversations that football supporters are struggling to have with their clubs for starters. But the main thing also was to get football supporters to rally behind the national teams of the country, starting obviously with football, both the men and women, and also be able to cross over to other sporting codes to give support to our national team.
See, I'm losing you a bit there with audio. And what is your role as the acting chief executive officer?
Well, my role, I was brought into the organization to first sort out governance in terms of making sure that the organization is compliant when it comes to governance, and such that the organization is able to put together programs and proposals that can empower and educate the football supporter in South Africa. And unfortunately, you cannot do all those things if your governance is not in order, if your paperwork is not in order, your constitution and everything. As much as the organization does have a constitution, but there's a lot of things that they didn't have in line with the constitution, structures in place and everything. So my role essentially was to come into the organization and sort out the administrative element, and also set up structures for the organization so that it can be able to continue. And the structures meaning that engaging the current existing football supporters into the systems of the organization, and also help the organization, because of COVID, help the organization with the digital migration, because the supporters membership used to be done with the old system of forms and everything. And obviously, because of the COVID pandemic that has hit us, we can't do your normal traditional registration that is done on forms. And so we came up with a digital platform where the organization is now on Telegram, and the supporters can actually register through Telegram into the NAFSA bot from their smartphones. And we are in the first phase where there is like a survey questionnaire where supporters are being asked questions of what they would like to see from the organization, so that we design programs that actually talk to our supporter, not what we think the supporter would like to see.
So you guys work with supporters that have actually affiliated with their clubs, that have formal membership with their clubs, or is it anybody say, Lethabo can just come and join? I'm a South African football supporter. May I join your organization?
You don't necessarily have to belong to a supporters club and everything for a team. You could just be someone sitting at home who follows football, goes to the stadium, and you can join NAFSA. So it's open to every citizen in South Africa, not just South African citizens, but also even foreigners that are residing in South Africa. They are able to register on the platform with their passports. And because you're avoiding issues of QR registration, you have to put in your ID number, but that information is kept secure, ID number or passport number.
Yeah, talking about COVID, already in South Africa before COVID, there would be complaints that if the big teams are not playing, we don't see so much support, you know. How has COVID made that situation obviously very bad? I mean, the after effects, obviously with the last 6 matches that were played, everything was played behind closed doors, obviously for the protection of the players and for the protection of the supporters as well. Do you feel that now with the COVID, the after effects are going to be dire on a situation that was already problematic?
I honestly, I don't know. Because yes, we had a problem for bums on seats at the stadium when it comes to games. And I think the bigger problem with that, it's not just, I think it's gone to the fact that clubs don't actually value the supporters' presence as much as it used to be in the past, you know. I've been listening to conversations since I started with the football supporters, and a lot, even with the big teams, actually feel very unappreciated by the clubs. You know, you look at even now with the latest ambassadors that have come in for clubs and everything, it's celebrities. Some I don't even think they know the teams, and this is no disrespect to them, but some I don't even think they know the teams. And it would be interesting to know what the criteria was in selecting those people. I think for me, representing the football supporters, I might have been comforted seeing a Lethabo Kganyago representing a club or as a club ambassador, because it's a name I know. I might not have known you know, face to face, but it's a name I know. It's a name I've seen in the circles and everything. It could have been maybe a little bit different if you used actually the supporters that people know that are following this club. And right now, people are feeling very hard done that who are these people and what is the criteria that is being used. So I don't know whether that introduction of ambassadors is to try and get supporters in back to the stadium post-COVID, but as it is right now, we don't even know when we're going back to the stadium. And obviously the hunger to get back into the game, to go back to the stadium is there, and we can only test it when the stadiums open up to say how much people are prepared to go to the stadium. But those are some of the questions we asked again, going back to the NAFSA board in terms of what the supporters want to see, what could attract them to going back to the stadium. But as NAFSA, we also have like 5 key pillars where we are trying to, one, engage the different SAFA, your PSL companies, business, let's say corporate SA, to say, as the football supporters, we can actually have a intellectual conversation around the table and discuss business and discuss the business of football. Because at the end of the day, if supporters don't go to the stadium, corporate SA suffers to some extent, because there's your beverages that are being sold. If supporters are not there to consume, then you are not making a sale, you know? And also trying to engage the Ministry of Sports to say, as football supporters, this is what we would like the ministry to do when it comes to recognizing the football supporters in the country. Secondly, it would be to attract your young and upcoming supporters, you know, because also we have found that is an issue, that the young ones don't go to the stadium because they feel that the spotlight and everything of following teams is still going to the tried and tested guys. So how do we keep the balance in that and bring up the young ones and attract them to the game? What could be appealing to them to come to the game and follow and support football from a young age? And then your third one is your current existing supporters that you have in the structures, because even those current existing supporters have got their own problems, you know, be it at club level, be it at national team level. So how do we bridge the gap in terms of the grievances that they have, and how do we deal with those so that we also preach unity? You can't please everyone, unfortunately, in an organization, but if you can please 80% of your people or 70%, then you would have done a great job, you know? So you need more unity than divisions to ensure that you are going forward and you are able to command the important things in terms of the direction football should be taking. And I'll make an example and say, if you look with the European Football Supporters Association, those guys actually have a seat in the important rooms that are discussing football in Europe, you know. There's always a seat around the table that is reserved for a football supporter. But in South Africa, there is no seat reserved for a football supporter around the table when it comes to decisions and discussions that impact on our football. Even at club level, you know, how do we ensure that football supporters are represented at the bigger scheme of things, whether be it at executive level with clubs? How do we ensure that? So those are some of the conversations we are trying to drive. And then fourthly would be the media as well, you know. The media is giving us the spotlight and everything, but I feel, and with my NEC as well, we feel there could be more that the media could be covering when it comes to the football supporter, not just the singing and cheering at the stadium, but who are these guys, you know, what are they doing and everything? Because a lot of the guys spend their hard-earned money supporting the game, and they don't really get anything out of the game. So if it means getting the media to help a person build a brand around themselves and become a career football supporter, why not? You know, but it's just an example. And then, so those are some of the things we're looking at in terms of building the brand and repositioning the brand of NAFSA, because the scope of the football supporter has become so broad and big, and those are some of the things that were exposed by the lockdown as well, to say, how is the game without the football supporter? And also, we need to start appreciating that the football supporter actually contributes so much to the South African economy, even though it is taken very for granted.
I wanted to ask you also that what is the relationship that your organization has now with the football clubs? Like, is it somewhere you are able to have conversations with them, or is it something that you guys are still working, you know, towards making it, you know, a good one? Because once upon a time, I did an interview with one football supporter who was telling me that it cost them roughly 30,000 rands for them to support their football club in one season. So along those lines, as you also speaking, that people spend a lot of their hard-earned money to support clubs. What is the relationship that you guys have with the football clubs?
So since I came in, and so I came in June, and it's been locked down. But one of the things we've done was actually to write to the clubs directly to say, this is who we are. The organization has been existing, but there hasn't been much activity, and we are trying now to reposition the organization, and would like to have a meeting with the club, you know. Most of the, and also you'd say your big three or big four, you know, we have, in some provinces, we have representation from their provincial coordinators and everything, because what we've done, we also wrote to all the different structures in the provinces to say, can you come in? Because our provincial executive committees are predominantly formed by the same club, branch, and supporters organizations, you know. Those are the key guys, because they are working in the ground. They know what needs to be done and not done and everything. And you know, I actually watched something very beautiful. Last week Saturday I was in Mabopane, and there was an Orlando Pirates supporter who has been following the club for the last 42 years. He turned 60, and he was having a birthday that was being hosted by his branch, which was the Mabopane branch. But he has served even at national level in terms of the Orlando Pirates supporters structures. And they were having a send-off for him because he's retiring and all that. So I went because I was invited. But it was so beautiful to see Kaizer Chiefs supporters branches arriving to support, Sundown supporters branches arriving in Texas to come and give this man a send-off, you know, and appreciate his contribution as a football supporter to the game. And this is now generally as a football supporter and not just an Orlando Pirates supporter.
Yeah, then we speak about not just the issues of, let's speak about stadiums, okay, fine, bums on seats, but also where do the supporters take responsibility? Because in recent years, people would rather watch on television, others would say tickets are expensive and whatnot. So where do the supporters take responsibilities themselves in this situation?
You see, in terms of that, that's why I'm saying that I think over the years, there hasn't been a consultation process, you know. As a result, people speak with their money, because at the end of the day, they spend their money. So a person would prefer to sit at home than going to the game, because the safety issues, there's that issue and everything. So those are the conversations we are trying to have also in partnership, because if a person would start feeling secure to go to the stadium, chances are they'll be prepared to spend their money and go to the stadium. And also as an organization, again, one of the, but this is more long-term, is to actually, when branches affiliate to NAFSA, is to be able to get to a point where we can even actually charge branches for misconduct of supporters at the stadium, because they need to be accountable for their actions, you know. And also, if you are coming from a Limpopo branch or Polokwane branch, we mustn't charge a Lethabo, but rather charge the branch, because it's the onus would be on the branch to ensure that its people behave the right way at the stadium and everything. But also one of the cries that are always there that I've heard is the issue of transport at the stadium, you know, when you go to the stadium and everything. And again, that's where now the conversation with business comes in, because you would have to bring stakeholders like your Santaco to say, the supporters are prepared to pay for this, you know, to go to the stadium. But the problem is that there are no taxis after the game. So a person would rather sit at home because they don't want the headache of having transport issues after a game, you know. So maybe knowing that there's going to be transport after the game, it would give a person comfort to actually want to go to the stadium, because at the end of the game, they're going to come out of the stadium and catch a taxi, and it would take them to where they need to go.
And then, Sia, what other projects are you involved in? I know you won Volunteer of the Year at the G Sports Awards this year. Congratulations. What other projects, football development-wise, are you involved in?
Okay, so the latest one is I'm project managing the Football Scouting Bible, which is a book that has been written by Walter Steenbock. It talks about scouting, you know. So I've been busy with that project, and basically pushing to get the book into people's hands, and pushing for us to look at having provincial workshops around scouting and everything. So that's what I'm busy with at the moment, but also hoping that amateur football will come back soon, because I still have my team, which is Shumba Football Development. And we haven't played a league, you know, the whole year this year because of obviously COVID. The boys are frustrated, the girls are frustrated. And I think with the girls, what is even touching for me is the fact that we had just started re-establishing girls under the banner of Super Falcons, you know, to have an under 15 and under 17 that is going to play an inter-regional league. So it was exciting because we're going to start a league, and it was going to be the first time we're doing this. And then boom, and then we couldn't play. So that's pretty much what I'm busy with. And then also hoping that by the end of this month or next month, I would have finished and secured my master in football and business management with the Sports Business Institute of Barcelona. And I'm hoping that I will get more opportunities. I want to go work overseas or work in Africa, just to expand my knowledge and get out of my comfort zone, which is the South African football market. Yes, I speak to people from out of the country and everything, but having that experience and being there physically makes a whole lot of difference compared to when you're hearing from someone else how they do things and how they work. So that's basically it for me at the moment.
Lastly, as we wrap up, definitely you being at the helm of the National Football Supporters Association, it's a barrier broken, you know. The myth around people saying that women don't support football, women don't know football, whereas we've seen the faces that we've seen a lot at stadiums. You know, you see Mama Chauke comes to the mind, a Lady D comes to mind, and yourself as well. How do we then, you know, also deal with those kind of myths and just for people to stop talking about this, because it seems like it's not the reality that is on the ground?
Well, you can say again that it's a myth, because I think more women have come into the game to follow the game, which is one of the things I'm trying to address. I think I'm blessed because with my interim provincial committees, I think 70% are actually being led by women. If it's not a woman, it's actually a young man, like a young guy who's in their 30s or late 20s, you know, leading an entire province in terms of the provincial chairs that I have in the organization now for our interim structures. And we fortunately, I didn't, yes, NAFSA has broken a barrier because for the first time in 28 years of existence, it's being led by a woman, you know. So we're hoping that more organizations that are deemed to be male dominated would actually put faith in having a woman actually running the show and being there. But when it comes to our supporters, I know that even with the club branches now, a lot of them are being led by women, which is changing the narrative of the myths at the stadiums and everything. But one of the worries that still come about is the safety of women at stadiums, given everything that is happening in our country. I know for one, personally for me, I would drive to the stadium, but there'll be instances where I don't feel safe. And can you imagine, I'm in my car, I'm driving by myself to the stadium. How much more with a person that is traveling as a group, and they are traveling by public transport. Sometimes it's at night, you know, and everything. And also, people drink, you know, to enjoy themselves and everything. And what happens in the process of that when people are drinking and everything. So again, the onus becomes on the men that we have within our structures to ensure that our women are safe, you know. The young ladies that are going to the stadiums are safe. because if they ensure their safety, it becomes a little lesser for people to victimize them in everything.
Siyabulela Loyilane, thank you so much, the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the National Football Supporters Association, and we wish you all the best in everything that you do in terms of making sure that the supporters get their worth, you know, as they make the beautiful game even much more beautiful.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for this conversation.